Phrasal verb bring up. Meanings: rear or raise children. To take care of a child during infancy and childhood by educating, nurturing, training, etc. To introduce a topic. Bring, brought, brought. Rear or raise children. To take care of a child during infancy and childhood by educating, nurturing, training, etc. She worked hard to bring up her 3 children. He was brought up by his grandparents in the countryside. They brought up their kids in a very disciplined way. Bringing up children requires a lot of sacrifices. She brought up her son with a lot of love and care. They brought up their children in a multicultural environment. Her grandmother brought her up after her parents died. They brought up their children in a small, peaceful village. His parents brought him up with a strong sense of responsibility. Bringing up a child requires patience and love. They brought up their children in a diverse neighborhood. She brought up her kids with endless love and care. His grandparents brought him up with strict rules. Her aunt brought her up after her parents passed away. She brought up her children with the help of her parents. Her uncle brought her up after her parents moved abroad. Bringing up kids with good morals is important. Her mother brought her up with endless support. They brought up their kids with a focus on education. His mother brought him up with good manners. They brought up their sons with strict discipline. It's not easy to bring up children in a big city. I was brought up by my grandmother. The child was brought up by his aunt. Aditya was brought up by his mother. The children were brought up by their uncle. To introduce a topic. She brought up her concerns during the meeting. Please don't bring up my mistake in front of everyone. He brought up a great suggestion for the project. Why did you bring up that old argument? The teacher brought up a new topic in class today. During the interview, they brought up my previous work experience. He brought up the need for more volunteers at the event. Don't bring up that embarrassing story again. She always brings up interesting ideas during meetings. I'll bring up your suggestion at the next meeting. She brought up her favorite book during the discussion. He brought up the challenges he faced in his last project. The speaker brought up an important question about equality. Can you bring up that report during the presentation? The professor brought up an interesting case study. I didn't want to bring up such a sensitive issue. She brought up the topic of mental health awareness. He brought up the importance of teamwork in his speech. Please don't bring up my past mistakes. The team brought up several ideas for improving the workflow. Why didn't you bring up this issue earlier? I brought up the topic of environmental sustainability. He always brings up his achievements in every conversation. I am planning to bring up the proposal in today's discussion.